She bakes the most lovely loaves of bread, and she had baked one for us that afternoon. Fragrant and warm, it sat between us as we discussed futures quickly becoming present. How to stay true to our hopes, passions, and visions, even as we navigate the seemingly treacherous waters of transition. You see, the transition from seminary to the land of hopefully full-time ministry is not immune from the type of anxiety that plagues most liminal spaces. I don't know about you, but I have met basically no one who enjoys hanging out in the in-between of anything. It feels a lot like waiting, and waiting is, after all, countercultural. It looks too much like doing nothing. It is sometimes not knowing what comes next. It is most of the time out of our control, because could we control it, we would. We'd be there already, and we'd sure as heck know where there was. There is a great risk when approaching a threshold or a transition. We all feel it. It makes us very uncomfortable. And this risk is of more consequence than it appears to us in our fear, because we don't see it. We think we see the risk. We see the risk of change, the risk of the unknown. We focus our eyes and energies on these and open ourselves up to an even greater risk, which is this. To avoid discomfort, we allow ourselves to be trapped in normalcy, resting easy in the status quo, residents of a comfortable land with a well-worn motto. But this is always how we've done it. We stay at the threshold to reduce anxiety, never crossing over, never taking the risk. Or, alternatively, to alleviate our discomfort, we plunge headlong into the next thing, the better thing, the obvious thing. We leap over the liminal space to what feels familiar. We spend little time or energy in the unknown, seeking instead order, stability, certainty, through our own planning and quick decision-making. If this is the risk, then here's the rub. Regardless of how fond or not we are of transition, of the in-between, of life's liminal spaces, the biblical God is always, always leading us towards them. Because, says theologian Richard Rohr, there alone, in the transition, is our old world left behind. While we are not sure of what is to come, it is the realm where God can best get at us because of our false certainties that are finally out of the way. This is the sacred space where the old world is able to fall apart and a bigger world is revealed. Jesus, as written in the Gospel of John, works most profoundly in liminal space. We've seen him calming the waters from a boat in the middle of a sea that separates one land and people from another land and people, from the known and the unknown. He's sitting in the place between hunger and plenty as he creates much from little. He's existing in our world by also occupying another, one that is more mysterious and more real than we can imagine. The ministry of Jesus is necessarily transitional. What is old has passed away. What will come is completely unknown. Something is shifting and nothing will ever be the same. Of course, we know this given our vantage point, but those who encountered Jesus in his own time, they felt it too. From his most committed followers to those who remain skeptical, we see few, if any, unaffected by the risk of his transitional presence in their midst. In today's gospel reading, we meet people skeptical of Jesus because they could not immediately characterize him in a way that made sense. Is not this Jesus, they ask, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How can he say now, I have come down from heaven? Is not this Jesus? I can only imagine their confusion at seeing one they believed they knew, existing at the threshold of something mysterious, something utterly new. And not only is he existing at this threshold, he is calling to them from it. This is a frightening invitation, and although I'd like to believe that had I been there, I would have accepted it without invitation, or without hesitation, following Jesus bravely into this new world. The way I order my life now suggests that I would have not dared so bravely. Instead, I may have been a skeptic. Is not this Jesus? Skepticism is one way, and I have to admit, it happens to be one of my favorite ways, to stall. It's a way to self-protect, to look engaged while standing apart, refusing to truly cross the threshold. Now, before you start wondering if I'm suggesting that questions aren't okay, know this. Skepticism is a far cry from discernment, and discernment is always about the questions. Where is God in this? What would God have me do? What is God calling me towards? What am I afraid of? The difference between these questions and questions of skepticism, the former truly desire an answer, the skeptical questions really don't. Is not this Jesus? This is a question asked by someone who thinks they know the answer already. They don't need or want to know anything else. Their question is not one of curiosity or openness. It holds no risk, no vulnerability. I'll admit that I fall into this pattern myself a lot more than I would like. No risk, no vulnerability. Somewhere in my growing up, I got the idea that it was far preferable to point out where an idea would most certainly fail than to open myself to the risk of an idea actually failing. That it was far preferable to miss a learning opportunity than to admit that I didn't know something. That it was far preferable to people please than to risk people knowing me and not liking me. Of course, I know now that none of those things is preferable. And yet, if I'm not careful, I slip into this old pattern without even noticing. And I refuse an invitation into transformational space. Which brings me to my friend's living room. The companionship, the fragrance of fresh bread, the admission of fears, and the open-ended questions. The dependence on other people. I've only recently dared to live this way. It's actually something that's really hard for me. But in that room, on that day, I refused to think about why this group would probably not work out in the long run. I refused to self-protect by keeping my fears about the transition to come to myself. I refuse to do that thing I sometimes do, playing it cool as if I have it all figured out. The truth is, I don't. None of us do. And isn't that a gift? St. Michael's, I've been with you now for 8 weeks. And in 8 weeks' time, I have met curious people, kind people, open people. People laughing loudly and often while doing the hard work of living in community. People acknowledging their fears. You, St. Michael's, are in liminal space. Congratulations. You are risk takers. Thanks be to God for that. Amen.
Amen.